So, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is August the 25th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1441 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2021 on the ancient Greco-Roman calendar, which we came up with that too. And when we say ancient about the Greco-Roman calendar, I found out that that it is actually a civil, quote-unquote, civil calendar. That's why it's attributed to the hybrid. But we came up with it when we created the hybrid so that they would have a calendar. And that's why we gave that one to them, to the subjects. But because it will give them an idea of where things were. So, having said that, we were talking before the recording started about where we are and some information that we received yesterday from one of the Moors here on the call, Empress Cynthia. Thank you so much for all of the information. And actually, thank you to all the Moors for all the information that you send to us. We don't always get the opportunity to look through each piece of information word for word. But what we received yesterday was something that Anne von Wright put out there about the history of gold, and we put the link to it in. In fact, we can put the link to that article in the chat. Of course, it's filled with colorability and hypothecation and subrogation and attempts to subrogate our sovereign status, but that's okay. We know better. But in it, it's stated in one small part in there that the time has been shortened. And I was just explaining to the Moors what that meant. That's actually code word. It's biblical code word. In the Bibliotelio text, it talks about the time of the Great Tribulation or the Great Testing of the Moors, because that's what it's talking about. The great testing of we, the Moors, the heirs, and how we would go through the tribulation and be tried in the fire and come out as pure gold. And in Anne von Wright's Masonic language that she's putting out to her Masonic brethren, she said that the time had been shortened, and in the Bibliotelio text it talks about that, about how the tribulation, at a certain point in the tribulation, which is generally around 3.5 years of testing, that it says, and I'm paraphrasing, but in the Bibliotelio text it says that the tribulation, during the time of the tribulation, if the time had not been shortened, that we just wouldn't make it through that time. And by we, in the tribulation and in the Bibliotelio text, it's talking about the hybrid. They wouldn't make it. We're always going to make it because we're the heirs. But once we get to that time in the tribulation where they say, okay, the time has been shortened, that means that we passed a test that made it so that our testing gets easier for those who are demonstrating. Okay, and in the chat, Empress Alessandra put Matthew 24, 21, and 22, Islam. It talks about our time of testing being shortened because we were not sure when the testing was going to ease up just a little bit. I mean, it's been coming hard and heavy, but we're built for this, all of us. We're built for this. We created ourselves for this. Yes, let's see. In the chat it says, for then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, nor ever shall be. So this time is a one-time test the Moors, just test them and see if they'll stand. And then it says, and unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved, but for the elect's sake. those days will be shortened. And who are the elect? We are. And guess who has the authority to shorten those days? We do. By standing. That's it. Just be ourselves. No matter what, no matter how long it takes, be ourselves. No matter what they're saying, be ourselves. And that's what shortens our test. And we stated that back a while back, where we were saying, you know, when we stand in our test, that means that actually shortens our test. It's only when we are fighting the testing and thinking that we're citizens and thinking that if we just do what they say, we'll be all right. That is not how this is done. We don't have to do what they say. We have to follow the law. We have to stand and be ourselves. And because we have all been willing to do that, the testing, the time of the tribulation has been shortened. The time of our testing is shortened. And that there are some more out there who aren't awake yet, who will be tested also.
Empress, can you hear it? We can't hear you.
She was bounced off. She'll be right back.
Islam.
So, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, Empress.
My phone went out. So, thank you for that, Justice Theodore and Empress.
Noble J. Medina Bay.
Grand Rising, Nobility, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Grand Rising and Grand Elevation.
Islam. Yes, Islam. So, anyway, we want to get into our topic, but what I was saying before is that the time of the tribulation has been shortened, meaning that a lot of the things that we went through, our heirs are not going to have to go through that because we stood. If we had not stood, then the time of the tribulation would go on until someone does that, until someone stands. But we've all been tested. We've all stood and shown that no matter what, we're going to be ourselves. And so that's what that means. And that's good news. What does that mean also? It also means that we need to continue doing what we're doing, keep demonstrating our sovereign status, keep sending out the affidavits, keep notifying, keep leaning, keep doing all of that so that we keep the, so that we can share the information that we have learned with our heirs and give that, keep passing the information up to the heirs and then have them pass it to their heirs and so on and so forth so that the estate stays where it should be, in the condition that it should be in. So let's get into our topics. We have a couple of topics, but they're all related. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign, living, ancient Article 3, Moorish American, Moroccan court action. I am sovereign, living justice, Pauline Dimitri, in capitis diminutio nolo, innheritense, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. My free, chosen, sovereign appellation is like to derive, in capitis diminutio nolo, innheritense, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. So, our job, our responsibility is to bring that which we ascend to into this dimension. So we are actually literally reaching back into what our ancestors did and bringing all of that forward into this so that we can live the way they live. Our ancestors lived majestically. And I mean before the fall. Because there was a fall where they did not live majestically. We're out of that part. And we're now growing past that. And when I say growing past that and I talk about, you know, the tribulation being shortened, I got a text recently from one of the Moors who was saying, you know, make sure that you stock up on food and water because, you know, they were concerned about the shelves being, you know, seeming like they're empty, etc. Moors, when you see the shelves emptying at the grocery stores, rejoice because that they're just making room for the stuff that should have been there all along, but we were not in our rightful place. They're making room. They're making room for what needs to come there, what should have been there. The natural food and the things that come from our brothers and sisters abroad that we're accustomed to, and the things that our ancestors ate. So that's what that's all about. It's nothing to be afraid of. Let that happen. It's going to happen. And then we're all clearing the way so that all of the other nations of the earth can bring what they want to bring here. Because believe it or not, the United States Corporation Company was holding those nations back with alphabet corporations like the FDA and the USDA and all of that. Those corporations in their corporate status were the ones holding all of the natural foods back and saying, nope, you can't bring that here. We're not going to let the heirs eat that. They're going to have to move the corpse out of the way. They got to be competent to move the corpses out of the way. And so what did we do? Lean, court action. We had to stand regardless, standing even in the face of weapons and jails and all of that. We stood. Still standing, going to keep standing. And so now what's happening is those corpses are now eating their own. So when you hear something about the FDA getting approval for a vaccine, we know vaccines are not for us. So what's going to happen? Those who are acting in corporate status are going to be moved out of the way. And we don't even have to do the work. They're going to do it themselves. We don't even have to worry about warring back and forth with those who don't want to obey the Constitution. All we got to do is say, you got to obey the Constitution, and here it is. That's it. that system is designed to self-execute. It's designed for that. That's how we designed it. So, having said that, we've heard about the ships that are out at the port off the coast with all these supplies waiting to come in and all of that. They just needed us to move the corpses that were stopping them from coming. We just needed to move them out of the way, and we've done that. And we're going to keep doing it. And so the shelves are clearing, and they're making room for the supplies that will be coming in based on that. And those supplies will be assisting us in getting our own lands up and growing the things we need and all of that. So we're going to be fine, okay? But we got to demonstrate. We got to not freak out. Everybody be calm. And the one thing I love about the Moors is we're all about peace. And when we're all about peace, we're not going to freak out and do irrational, crazy things and not be able to see, you know. So speaking of reaching all the way back into our ancient history, I found some information that's going to assist us in moving forward as well. Okay, we've been talking about our courts. We've been talking about how to go about doing them. We've been talking about not going into fake courts. We stand on that. Okay, so what do we have to do to get rid of the fake courts? Lien, court action, put them in subject status, and give them some diallarium. Okay, so that the underwriting, because the fiat underwrote the corpses. Diallarium underwrites the subjects in our court. And that way the Constitution is in alignment. The fiat was the thing that was out of alignment where the Constitution was concerned. And we needed to properly rebut that, and we have. So I wanted to talk about the origin of the word king and how that relates to what we're doing today and where we're going and what's going on with the subjects. Because the subjects are the ones who had to have a king. We never had to have a king. We don't have, no one leads the Moors. We lead ourselves. We're self-governing. So I want to relate this to us, to our ancient bloodline and birthright, and some things the prophet said. Okay, the origin of the word king, and let me make this a little bit bigger on the screen. The origin of the word king, K-I-N-G, it's a masculine term. It is a derivative of the ancient feminine Moorish word king, Q-I-N-G. So the original kings were the empresses. We spelled it with a Q. So when you hear about things like the Ming and the Qing dynasties and all of that, that was us. Okay? And then as the transition started to take place, where we were transitioning in the fall to, and the fall is not a bad thing, it's a time that we consented to so that we could grow quicker and be more advanced. So as we consented to the fall, we said to the sons, okay, sons, you all are going to bring about the other nations by going out and being in matrimony with the other nations. Matrimony, not marriage. Matrimony, not marriage. We never said go marry and amalgamate with other species. We didn't say that. We said matrimony with the other nations. And we did too. So the Moorish king emperor ruled Manchuria, and this is the most recent history. And this is where our brothers from the East come in at, because see, we've been told that our history starts in slavery times and comes up to today, and we're, that's what we've been told. But our brothers from the East, I want to show you their interest in assisting us, okay? Because we just talked about stuff coming in and supplies that are waiting to come in, and they're waiting to show us the vast estate, and we don't really even need them to show it to us, but they're going to assist in all that we do because that's why they're here. And you might say, well, what do they get out of it? Yes, Empress Portia says she's seen them with our flag. Well, let me show you how all of this, their only interest has been us. They came from us, Manchurian, otherwise known as Chinese, and, all of the derivatives thereof. Okay, Vietnamese, Thai, Thailand, Indonesia, etc. All of those that we've seen, they are our brothers and sisters, and they come from us at the same time. So the Moorish king, emperor, and I say king emperor, Q-I-N-G, king emperor, ruled Manchuria from 1636 to 1912. And when I say ruled, we're talking about what they called a dynasty, okay? The Qing dynasty. And here, I'll go ahead and they use the word dynasty, but I don't like that word because it's really not the right word for us. Dynasty is not, but it does present, it represents what the fall, to die in a nasty way. That's the fall, and nasty just means it just wasn't pleasant to endure. Okay, so all the way up until 1912, these photos that I'm about to show you was Manchuria. They know it, and now we know it. Yes, there are no coincidences, because 1912, and again, this is the hybrid version of the story, that from 1636 to 1912, that the Qing dynasty ruled Manchuria. 1912 was the year before the Prophet Noble Judicialle established the Old Canaanite Temple, and right before the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. And that's why they're saying in here that the Qing dynasty ruled Manchuria until 1912. That's recent. There are no coincidences, and the acceptance of a foreign financial system by the Moors at America led to the appearance of abdication of our thrones earthwide, as all take their instruction from us. We are the primogenitors and creditors to all the nations at earth. So here, this is the origin right here. Let me put it on, make sure you can see it on the screen. The word king, this is the masculine, and it is the same as Q-I-N-G. And the word China came from that. China, they first started out with the king, then they changed it to Qing, and then they changed it to China. So when you hear in the fake media, when they're talking about China doing this and China doing that, they're cluing their brethren. So let me just show you here on the screen where this came from. And what we're looking at is Britannica Encyclopedia. And I'll put the link in the chat so that you can see where this came from. Here's the link to what we're looking at on the screen. And let me make sure that it's on the screen. Okay. There. Now, the Qing dynasty, because I want to show you why they have a specific and precise interest in what we're doing. The Qing dynasty, Wade Giles Romanization, Qing, also called Manchu dynasty or Pinyin Manchu, the last of the imperial dynasties of China, spanning the years 1644 to 1911/1912. And it actually started a little bit before 1644, upon further research. Under the king, the territory of the empire grew to treble its size. Treble is triple. Its size under the preceding Ming dynasty, 1368-1644. And again, these are Moors. The population grew from some 150 million to 450 million. Many of the non-Chinese minorities within the empire were Sinicized and an integrated national economy was established. What does that mean? It's what we're doing now, where those who are not Moors, the primogenitor Moors, are going to be, what do they call it? Synthesize and synergy are the same thing, where you come together to be more powerful. Okay? So when they talk about synchronicity and the synergy of the ages, that is the uniting of Asia. Okay? So the uniting of Asia is just everyone of who came from us coming back and putting what they have together with what we have and what we're doing, and us governing the way that we're supposed to govern. Because they were the custodians too. Okay, much better, yes, Empress Portia, much better than naturalized. That is the national. Okay. I'm reading in the chat. Yes. Justice Yermo put in the chat, the hybrid Albion histories also say that the Qing dynasty was corrupt and weak. That is why the British, UK, and then US, the corporations, were able to take them over with drugs. They had to fall and then rise back up too. Yes, this is the Grand Rising. This is the Grand Rising. And see, in order for the Grand Rising to be successful, there have to be Moors who say, we will not compromise. We will not compromise. We will not give in. We're going to be ourselves so that we can't be bought off. And guess what? We can't be bought off if we're using our own money. Period. We have actually created the way for us not to be bought off, because we can print as much as we want. So we created our own escape from the temptation of compromise. So it says the Qing dynasty was first established in 1636 by the Manchus to designate their regime in Manchuria, and they say now the northeast region of China, but we have to know what the original China was. The original China was actually the original Asia, And we know what Asia is. We're at Asia too. This is still Asia. It is a Mexum. This is ancient Morocco. This is the North Gate. This is Northwest Africa. This is Asia. This is Turtle Island. This is America. Okay? So throughout time on the timeline, we have called this is Israel, ancient Israel. This is ancient Jerusalem. It's ancient Canaan land. It's all of that. And many more. In 1644, the Chinese capital at Beijing was captured by a rebel leader, and the Ming officials called on the Manchus for aid. The Manchus took advantage of the opportunity to seize the capital and establish their own dynasty in China. By adopting the Ming form of government and continuing to employ Ming officials, the Manchus pacified the Chinese population. So that is kind of like what we're doing right now is, even where the hybrids are concerned, when we remove the corporate covering off of them and put them in subject status, we've now adopted them and employed them to do what we command. That's what we're doing. That's the plan. This is a historic plan that has been put in place a long time ago. Okay? This is not anything new that we're doing. There's nothing new under the sun. And that's how come we know for sure that what we're doing is the right way to go. Because it's been done many times before, and we were the ones doing it. Change the money, turn over the money, the money changers table. Go into the temple. The temple is this land. The temple is us. Change it. Change the literature. Like our prophet said, change the literature. So we're fulfilling those prophecies as well. Changing the literature just means put it in red and all lowercase letters and take it out of black capitalism. That's change the literature. Because, again, there's no new information under the sun. We've been who we've been the whole time. So you can look through this. I've given you the link to this. You can look through it and see how the language was changed and how the spellings of things were changed and the process of taking control of a capital. Now, remember we've been talking about we are not a part of that capitalism system? Remember how we said that? Okay. Coming out of that means that the hybrids no longer have control of what they thought, what they were using as capital, which was us. So essentially on paper and in reality, we have taken control of the capital because we thought we were the capital, but didn't know it. They were using us as capital, but we didn't know it. We underwrote all the banks by continuing to sign their documents and their affidavits. Their fake paper in black ink with name and address on it. We were the capital. So when they talk about people taking control of a capital, they're talking about taking control of whoever it is that's worth something. Who's worth something? The Moors are. So now let's go back to bringing this all the way back around to where we are and who we are and why our brothers from the East have interest in ensuring that everything is okay with us. And believe me, while we've been doing this, we have had assistance the whole way. I'm so grateful for the assistance that we've had the whole way. It is known as the unseen hand. the unseen hand has kept it so that when we did speak and say the right thing, that we could not be violated. And that in our testing, that we would not be harmed irreparably. Okay? So let's look now at why. This first photo is a photo, let me make it just a little bit smaller so we can see. This is the photo of the ruling Manchurian Moorish king emperor and empress in the 1800s. This photo was taken in the 1800s. That was not long ago. That was not 1,000 years ago when the Moors ruled Manchuria. That was the 1800s. That was like, you know, remember adjourned sine die, and then the corporate peace happened, and then they said in 1912 that the rulership of the Moors ended in China. It only, listen, when we allow the hybrids to change the name of something, then they'll say, okay, their rulership ended in China in 1912. Well, it never ended on the land. Our rulership never ended on the land. Never ended on this land. Grand Rising Nobility, welcome. Thank you for being here. It never ended on the land. It just ended where their paper is concerned, where they created the paper, so they just started their story there. That's all. But this, photos like this, and there are thousands and thousands upon thousands of photos like this. The unincorporated original indigenous Moorish king clan still rules the king's land, known as China today. Just as the Al-Moroccan Moorish Americans rule America, ancient Morocco, today. We are the ruling clans earthwide that has never changed, and this is the uniting of Asia. This is why our brothers from the East have such an interest in ensuring that everything goes well. And we're not dependent on them. We appreciate what they've done. But they know, just like the rest of the earth knows, that when we stand, everyone prospers. When we stand, everyone prospers, and that has been proven time and time again. Time and time again. So they have a specific interest. Now, let's look at another photo. This is the Moors with their little kufi fezzes on over there in China. And this is a color photo taken in the late 1800s. We're still there. They're actually in the marketplace. You can see some of them in the background back there doing a little business. They're turned away doing some business, and they're in the marketplace. You're not going to see that on CNN. CNN ain't going to show you the Moors prospering and getting things ready so that when we wake up, they have some things to give and to tribute. They're not going to show you that. Where did these photos come from? They came from an exhibit that's now being shown in New York. They're just now showing. And they're not passing fiat in those markets. That's why they couldn't show it on CNN. Because they don't use fiat in those markets. They can only, those people are only going to show you anything that furthers their agenda. They're not going to show you what you should be showing each other. And because we did not previously rebut properly their media, then what interest is it of theirs to even show us how powerful we are and how much help we actually have and how the other nations of the earth are waiting for us to do what we've done and to keep doing it and to give unto Caesar Caesar's fiat, so Caesar will stop seizing her. This is why they have such an interest, because they got things that they're foods and ancient artwork and ancient this and ancient that in great grand temples that they're waiting to show us. But they're not going to go into those temples if we're not there, if we're not standing and awake so we can see. Because if they showed it to us in our sleep, which some of that was shown to us, we thought it was somebody else.
Islam. Empress Light, is the first time in my life I now understand why the Chinese were closing down churches and preventing churches from starting.
Yes. Yes. They're waiting on us. They got it. They've been holding all of our stuff. And they're not even the only ones. The Iranians and the Iraqis. When they call them Iraqis, Iraqi or Iraq is short for Iroquois. It is a derivative thereof, of Iroquois. They're holding artwork, secrets, foods, recipes, wealth, but they cannot use it until we stand and get out of capitalism, or else we won't even know what we're looking at. We won't even know. And there are more of them than there are of hybrids. The hybrids know that. They know that, but they weren't going to show us. They were going to show us a whole pile of them piled up on the sidewalk walking down the street, making it look like the whole earth is made up of them and ain't but two of us. You know. To the contrary, heirs, to the contrary. And we've been there the whole time. Just as brown skinned, just as brown, they came from us. And they are actually the majority over there. See, the corporate media only focuses on Beijing and Hong Kong. That's it. As big as China's landmass is, they only focus on Beijing and Hong Kong. Don't you wonder what everybody else is doing and what everybody else looks like? And why they won't go out and focus on all of that? It's not in their interest to focus on us. It's in our interest to focus on us. We have to tell our own story. Are they going to get in alignment? Yes, they are. They're working their way to it right now in the media in the best way that they know how. They're working their way to it. Here's a little more with his kufi on. And I keep calling it a kufi. I better make sure that's the right term. It's a fez. It's an abbreviated fez. But now I want to show you what they showed us in school and how we should have looked a little closer at the photos so that we could see that it was us and no one else. This next photo that I'm going to show you is what we call a quote-unquote blackwashed photo. It's blackwashed. See, they used to say whitewashed because we were calling them white when they aren't white. You're white, and they're the blacks. Well, this is a blackwashed photo, this next one. Oh, this is not the one. Let me show you the blackwashed photo. This is it. Now, I want this is, I want you to notice the dark hand of Empress Dowager, and they call her Empress Dowager, one of the most powerful of the king ruling clans. Look at her hands. All they did was lighten her face so that she would not look like us when people looked at the photo, which is the majority of what they did during the Renaissance period, where they had introduced all this Renaissance artwork per se. All they did was repaint or hide or recreate and put their faces in and take ours out. The original artwork is still there. When you see the artwork of quote-unquote the Madonna, what do you call it? The Madonna? Mona Lisa, rather. That's the one I mean, the Mona Lisa. When you see the artwork of the Mona Lisa, they've always shown us a fair-skinned, you know, pale-faced one. The original Mona Lisa didn't look like that. And the original artwork that's worth the value is still not on public display that we have seen yet. But I have seen it. I've seen photos of it, and she's art. But in order for them to talk about the Qing dynasty and Empress Dowager, they had to make her look like that. And here, right underneath the photo, it says, the three most powerful regents of the Qing dynasty, and I took the other two photos out from left to right, and Empress Dowager Qiti. And she ruled, now look at the dates here. She was around when Prophet Noble Judicialle was here. 1898 to 1908. That wasn't that long ago. And then this one right here, again, this is the 1800s. This is the heirs standing in front of or sitting in front of the Temple of Longevity, or the Wanzhou Temple, in the 1800s. And he got an afro. and I'm just saying, that might sound a little bit anthropomorphic but this is us. This is why they have such an interest in us, because they are us. They are us. And if we don't make it, no one does, but that's not an option. We've been here for trillions and we've been through this before. We've been through this before. So what did we need to do? We needed to come out from under the corporate capitalism system. We needed to change the money. We need to now start producing our own things. And the majority of what's happening now is we're setting up, and we're already set up, but we have to know it, and we have to put it into play, put it into practice, put it into our daily lives of producing. We need to produce our own things because we have all the resources to produce as much as we want of everything. That's why we had to have a money system where we could produce as much money as we need and want, because we've got enough resources to where we can produce forever. And we have not even tapped into them. They've not been tapped into at all by anyone. And so what are we doing now? We're trying to, and we're not trying to, because the heirs are, we're ready. We're ready. We got this. It's a wrap already. But the Moors who are doing commerce, we're now starting to integrate the diallarium into what you're doing so that we can make the transition smooth and easy so no one has to do without anything that they need. And then we're integrating the diallarium into what the subjects are doing too, all at the same time. This is all going on right now, and this is not a secret. It has to happen. They know it, and we know it. It has to happen. And it's already happened, really. The first precedences have already been set. There's already been acceptance of the diallarium here at the Capitol. There's already been acceptance of the diallarium in the things that you all have done. Those who sent out diallarium, the Empress, and I won't mention her appellation because, you know, I didn't ask her if I could. But the Empress that did the diallarium with that court action, where she and I teamed up and did the court action together, and they had to back off because she sent them diallarium via email. She did an electronic funds transfer. That's acceptance by them in writing. We have it in writing. We proved it. So what we're doing now, this is all par for the course. It's not anything new, and, you know, it's just par for the course. It's what we have to do. Acceptance has already been gained. So we don't even have to, and it was gained by court action. So there's your stare decisis and res judicata already. That's been done in the last 2 months. So all we have to do is keep getting the diallarium out there. And those who we've gotten pretty much through the text messages and things like that. We're still working through them, still getting through them. Well, the ones that have come in recently. And for those who are wanting diallarium, we're getting it out as quickly as possible. Those who received diallarium, if there are people or more who have not received diallarium, forward them the diallarium in the emails that we sent you. Forward it to them. Forward it to as many as you can. Some will overstand it, some will not, but that's okay. Just make sure that they have it in their email. Just tell them you may not understand this right now, but just hold on to it, because at some point I just want you to have it in case you need it, just in case you need it, and they're going to need it at some point. Okay. Which brings us to the next part of this of what we want to share today. So in getting the diallarium out there and putting that with our court actions and all that we're doing, we now want to be able to go and get our Moors who are incarcerated. We want to assist them. Now, they have to stand. They have to state who they are, and they have to stand. But we now see the door that we can go through, whereby even the Moors who don't know that they're Moors that are in that system can come out of it with our assistance. So we know that based on the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, because we talked about that, and the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, please read those when you have an opportunity to read them. We put them out there previously. Those are documents that you can Google and look at. They do need to be put in red in all lowercase letters so that they can be put on the public record and be authorized by us, the Moors. When we put things on the public record in red in all lowercase letters, and we autograph it, it's authorized. That means we're authorizing something. We're authorizing the subject to get in alignment with that, whatever it is. Okay? The Vienna Convention on Consular Relations and the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations need to be gone through with a fine-tooth comb, and any words in it that are not in alignment with our language and our jurisdiction, we'll change them and edit them and fix them and put them in the right place, and publish it the same way that we did the treaty and the Constitution. And then when we put it on there in its proper state in red and all lowercase letters, we're applicable, or in blue, we're applicable. Then it becomes law. So now, today we want to introduce a document and a concept and a law that we needed to put in place to assist our brothers and sisters that are locked up, and also to assist in bringing the vast estate back to us by way of courts and court action. Now, we have stated previously that we don't go into their fake courts, and that's true. We need to lean all fake courts so that they're no longer fake. Put them in subject status so that they become the inferior courts mentioned in the Constitution. Okay? And I'll put the question out there just for the sake of who we are. Does anyone on this call know, or can you put in the chat the article in the Constitution that refers to inferior courts? I'll wait. Because, see, we have to enforce the Constitution, but we got to know it before we can enforce it. And then we expect them to follow it, but we have to know it too. And I'm not saying memorize just to regurgitate. I mean, know what our ancestors put in it, so that we can at least say you can find that in the Constitution. We might not be able to say exactly where, but we can say we can find that in the Constitution. It's in there. I read it and I know that it's in there. Does anyone know?
Article 3.
Quote? Go ahead, Nobility.
Article 3 would be the article. I'm not sure which section, but Article 3.
Okay. Can
Section
someone
1.
read that? Go ahead and read it, whoever has it. The article in the Constitution that refers to inferior courts and what happens with them.
Article 3, Section 1, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall, at stated times, receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office.
That is powerful. I don't know if y'all felt that, but that is powerful. In one Supreme Court, do you know what that means? That means, number one, there's only one Supreme Court. And who is it that is the supreme law for the land? Who? Because that's not a what, that's a who.
The heirs.
Absolutely. We are that one Supreme Court. And in such inferior courts as the Congress may ordain and establish. Those are religious terms when you say ordain something. You know, they used to ordain ministers in the church. Same thing. How do we, as the Supreme Court and as the Congress, because we're the Congress too, how do we ordain and establish inferior courts? How do we do that? Well, let's look at those two words. Ordain. What does ordain mean? Because we've heard that term. Let's talk about what it means first before we go into this document that we're going to put forth. Ordain means to set in order. So we got to put them in order. How do we put them in order? Lean them, remove that corporate covering and put them in subject status. That's order. That's the natural order of the universe. The gods wake up and do according to the law and speak the law and have dominion over all that we have created. And then we name it. We give it a name. Give our subjects a name. And then speak to it. Raise them from the dead. Speak to them. So let's just say there is a court in downtown, wherever, any town, a Mexum. And we have seen this court and that fake court. When we were asleep, they were running us through them. And it was a fake court. And is that court going anywhere? The building is not going anywhere. And in many cases, those who are working there are not going anywhere. What's going somewhere is the paper that they've been getting that tells them that when more come in the door, you know, when people come in the door, everyone has to wear a mask no matter what. They've been getting those directives from somewhere. Those unconstitutional directives. So now what's going to change is who they're getting their direction from, who they're getting their commands from. That's what's changing. That's what has changed. How do we change it? A lien and a court action, and then give us some commands and some delarium to do the command. That's how you ordain and establish an inferior court. We are the superior Supreme Court, the sovereign court, and all others are inferior courts. We are that judge of the world that they mentioned in the Declaration of Independence. They were appealing to us. Ordain, to set in order, to appoint, to decree, to establish, to install, to institute, appoint, enact, decree, etc., etc., etc. In other words, we have the authority to do that and no one else does. How do we do it? We know how to do it. Liens and court actions in red and all lowercase letters, and we're in our proper status. Ordain and establish. So let's look up the word establish real quick so that we know exactly what we're doing here and what we've already done and where we're going. Okay? Now, in many cases, most cases, and actually in all cases, because we have liened the United States Corporation Company. So any corporations that were under that, which was all of them, including the citizens, because the citizens were corpses and corporations too. They were in improper status. That's why they thought they had some authority over the Moors. But see, they're put in place to take authority over corpses. So corpses do have to wear a mask. If you're a corpse, you need a mask on. We don't need to be breathing that dead, stale breath, air. You're a corpse. We're the living. Put a mask on. If you're going to act in corporate status, be one. But you don't have any authority over us, the living. And in fact, we don't even really want you on our land. We don't want corpses on our land. We want loyal subjects and heirs and our brothers and sisters, the nations of the earth. Because that's the natural order. That is called natural law. Natural law. The word establish means, and again, we're talking about putting everything back in its proper place. Establish, which is just a few words before estate. To make stable, to stabilize, to make steadfast. To found permanently, to institute, to set up. To settle in a secure or favorable office or position. To set up in business or a profession, often with reflexive pronouns. As the father established his son as a merchant. To make a state institution. To set up a precedent permanently. To cause to be accepted or recognized. We don't recognize corpses, but we do recognize subjects. So whenever Moors, you've heard hybrids say, we don't recognize the Moors, that's commerce language and that's the law, which states that Moors, they will recognize you when you do a court action on them. So anytime anyone opens their mouth and says, we don't recognize the Moors, open your mouth and say, all rise and stand. This is the sovereign, original, indigenous, ancient, Article 3, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American Consular Court action. I am sovereign living justice, and state your appellation in capitis, diminutio, nolo, in red ink, in proprio sponus juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. No United States Corporation Company citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, signs, nor any derivatives thereof has personam jurisdiction, nor territorial jurisdiction, nor subject matter jurisdiction over me. What is your name? What is your name? Because we know you got one. Anybody that don't recognize the Moors on their own land has a name. It means they're a blind subject who's been worshiping a false idol called a corporation and some fiat. So now, we are establishing and ordaining inferior courts. We've already done the majority of that process, which is lien them and do a court action on them. Now where do we go and what do we do? Now that we have them under our authority, what we're going to do, we know that all of them have been previously members of the bar association, right? State court bar association, barristers, fake attorneys, all of that, bar association, lawyers, bar association. Okay, right? How do we rebut that? We know that we're consuls, we know that we're justices, we know that. But how do we rebut that and then be able to go in and get the Moors out? How do we do that? We know that if we go into any venue, first of all, our paperwork precedes us, and our paperwork states jurisdiction, the sovereign jurisdiction, and the supreme law for the land. And we can even put Article 4, Section 1 in there.
Islam?
So let us, Islam, nobility.
You asked the question. I'd say let's not reinvent the wheel. We have Moors in the Republic of Maryland that have done that. They put it on the record. We get full faith and credit for the work that they've done in every so-called court or corporate court here. So we don't have to do that work, but we do have to complete an affidavit stating our status in terms of we also being the Moorish National Republic federal government, and that means that we come under that umbrella of the empire, which has won that decision in Maryland, won the same decision in Georgia and Texas and Oregon and here in this republic as well. So that's my short answer, and I yield.
Thank you, Justice Kamal. Yes, that's great. That is great. We honor the Moors in Maryland Territory who did the demonstration where they went in and they demonstrated their sovereign status in an inferior court, and then the brother was able to get out. We did that with one of our justices about a year and a half ago, maybe. And that justice knows who he is. He's on all of our calls. We were able to go in and send the consul in and get him out. And he actually did the same thing with our brothers in Delaware who are in captivity right now. When we, and this was back in 2000 and I believe it was 2018 or 2019. Yeah, it was 2019, I believe. When our brother was taken on a Thursday. I remember it like it was yesterday. And all they did was have him call, at that time, our co-consul general, Chainge, Bey. And Chainge Bey spoke with the jailer on the phone. And when he spoke with the jailer on the phone, they let our brother go. So, and that was Brother Jamal, by the way. And we had a call on that same day, that Thursday, and Jamal came on the call and talked about that. So it's recorded, it's on the record, and many who were on the calls at that time remember it. But I love what's being done. We're adding synergy to all that's been being done, okay? We're adding synergy to it so that we can continue, because we got to keep rising in the processes that we're doing. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I love that. All we have to do is, again, like our prophet said, the European was going to teach us how to govern, and then they were going to leave, right? So we're going to properly rebut the Bar Association, the American Bar Association. There's a corporate one, but we know that all they did was look at what the Moors were doing and then put it in black ink and capital letters. So we're going to properly rebut that so that we can go in to the inferior court and get our brothers and sisters out. Okay.
I just wanted to say I was previously detained in Delaware myself, and that state being as small as it is, I kid you not, the majority of Moors are either all incarcerated or somehow on probation and parole. They are way beyond corrupt in Delaware. There is nothing there that is good waiting for anybody in Delaware. Like, it's bad. It's really bad in Delaware.
Okay. You know what? That means that you all in Delaware territory, because there's no state of Delaware Corporation in existence. That doesn't exist. You all need to do some liens and some court action over there and give some delarium to the subjects so those subjects can do what you need them to do. More Moors in Delaware Reservation territory need to be leaning these corporations off their territory and doing court actions. Justice Kamal just talked about the success that's being had by the Moors. And our success is on the public record. It's been going on for a while now. But that's because we keep going. So the Moors need to be leaning and doing court actions in Delaware territory to get those corpses off their land. So no, the corpses are not supposed to wait around for folks to finish filing their nails and chilling. They're not going to wait. That's why we're not waiting. And I'm not saying that the Moors in Delaware are sitting around filing their nails and chilling. What I am saying, though, is that more liens and court actions need to be done there because that's setting the groundwork for where we're going next.
You're right. You're right. It's just a lot of them is hard. When I was there for like 90 days, it's hard to even speak to them because they're like completely sleeping.
Yeah,
so,
you're not.
But no, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
You know what? The system is going to be hard on them until they wake up and do what needs to be done. Liens and court actions and capitis diminutio nolo in red ink. That's the law. That is not a guess or a process that Light came up with. That's the law. And you know what? The thing is, I don't get too over anxious and too worried about the Moors who are not awake yet because I know that the system will wake them up gently or it will yank them out of their sleep. It's their choice. That's their choice. They can wake up and let it be a gentle, smooth transition by listening now and doing now and preparing now and being proactive now, or they can be jolted out of their sleep. Either way, they're going to wake up. We don't like to see any of our brothers and sisters being ran through court systems, but if they don't remove the court system, no one else can. And each Moor must remove that system for themselves. I wouldn't be sitting here if that wasn't true. We have to do it for ourselves, each one getting under their own vine and fig tree. So now let's do a proper rebuttal to the Bar Association. What does the word bar mean? Let's look at the definition of the word because I will tell you this. Put in its proper jurisdiction, the word bar is a beautiful word. Oh, it's a beautiful word. It gives us so much more power and authority, or it reveals our power and authority. Let me put it that way. Because it's by the Corporate Bar Association that they were able to do all this stuff, the madness. The madness happens through that arm or entity of the corpse, that dead thing running around on the land. But we've leaned them and put them, told the court, you go to Guantanamo Bay, and now we got a bunch of subjects out here running around looking for the gods to give some commands. Okay, so let's rebut that. First, let's look at the word bar. Bar. From the Latin barra, B-A-R-R-A, a bar. What is a bar? You can look at the definitions that are there. Let's skip down to number 3. Any obstacle which obstructs, hinders, or prevents an obstruction. Have you ever heard the term obstruction of justice? Okay, a corporate bar association is an obstruction of justice. That's why we had to lean it. We are justice. It was obstructing. Let's look at number 5. The railing that encloses the place or the place so enclosed where judges or lawyers sit or where prisoners are brought to trial. So either you can be a judge or you can be a prisoner when you're sitting at their bar. Either one. It's saying here you can be one or the other. Either one. We get to determine whether that's a prisoner we're looking at or whether it's a judge or a justice. We get to determine that. They all sit in the same place. We just get to name it and call it what it is. Can you see where I'm going with this more? When we go into those places, see, we got that courtroom thing. Did you know that the courtroom is backwards? It's backwards. The place where all the people sit is actually the real court. And the people are the judges. That's why the Constitution says we the people. They are supposed to be judging and governing the ones that's the public servants, the ones that's supposed to be up there doing whatever they're doing. And whenever anyone goes into those places, you don't cross the bar over there and be with the prisoners. You stand with the people and stand and speak and begin judging the prisoners. The courtroom's we've been looking at it backwards. Because it's the people who govern. It's the people. And when a sovereign stands in those places and does the court action and put everybody in subject status, ain't no corpses, it's subjects. And that's what the Moors in Maryland did, right, Justice Kamal? That's what the Moors in Delaware and Georgia and here in this territory numerous of times had to, didn't have a choice, had to. We make it so that the people are the judges and the public servants are the ones being judged. And they can be a prisoner if they come out with some dirt on them, or they can go back to subject status and be a subject and continue following the law. So the railing that encloses them is where we were saying, and this is where our teachers have been very wisely telling us not to cross the bar. or else you stepping into the place where the prisoners are. And see, didn't you ever wonder why they keep the prisoners back there with them? Because they're all the same. They're all the same. So number 6, bar. And this is bar with a lowercase in lowercase letters. Okay? That's why it's looking like it has the right meaning, because it's in lowercase letters. Number 6, a law court. Not a legal court, but a law court. It says that for a reason. It's a dictionary. It says law court, not legal court. Or system of law court. Number 7 is good. I didn't highlight it, but I'm going to talk about it right now. It says lawyers collectively. Well, what in the world is the word lawyer? Because we're going to look at that. When we look at this document, we're going to look at that word, because the word is misspelled. And then it says the legal profession. That means someone is professing to be something. They're professing it. We just have to determine whether what they profess is true or not. That's why they say the legal profession. That means they're professing to be that. They're professing to be the bar, the one that stops something, the obstruction. They're professing that, but we get to affirm or deny whether that's true or not by what we do and what we demonstrate and what we say and what we speak, what we authorize or not authorize. And then it says figuratively, number 9 says figuratively any tribunal. Okay, tribunal is another word for court. And number 10 says an establishment or room with a counter at which alcoholic drinks and sometimes food are served to customers, also the counter over which the articles are served. Well, when it says the counter over which the articles are served, just think about the word counter. Counter, county. Over which articles are served. The Articles of the Confederation. The Articles in the Constitution. Just because that says a whole lot if you really look at the meanings of the word. I see someone in our group with their electronic hand up. Whenever you want to say something or you have some wisdom, just star 6 to unmute yourself and go ahead and give an Islam so that we can, yeah, you can speak whenever you're ready. Number 11, very important. It's highlighted for a reason. A bank, and that's a financial term, a bank of sand, gravel, or earth. And who is the earth and the land? We are. Forming a shoal at the mouth of a river or harbor, obstructing entrance into the sea, you know, because if folks get lost at sea, then things happen, right? So they need an obstruction to keep them from going out to sea. Okay, real key. Number 12, a rock or other obstruction in the sea. Okay, or to the sea. On this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. The rock is the land. We can obstruct any of our brothers and sisters from going out into the sea. And they must state who they are first, and then we can assist. Number 13 says a strip, stripe, band, or broad line as of light or color. And they say or color because, again, first of all, the bar that is of light is us. The bar that is of color is them. Color of law, color of authority, the bar association in black ink and capital letters, that's them. The bar of light is the Moors. And then, just one moment, because I see some things popping up in the chat. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Because I know I've missed some things, because there's a bunch in there. Okay, so number 15, let's look at number 15. In heraldry, a horizontal stripe or stripes on a shield or bearing. By his stripes we are healed. Heraldry, a shield. A red shield, maybe? Red shield. Something that shields the Moors. A bar. When the subjects are in their proper status, the banner of amity and commerce does not have yellow fringes, and it does not have war tassels and all of that on it. Okay? It has red stripes on it for this very reason right there. Those stripes represent a shield that shields or bars something or someone. Now, in their corporate status, they bar the heirs from the estate and from all that belongs to us. But when we get in our proper status, they then bar any and put them in subject status. The subjects bar the corpses from violating the heirs. That's why you can't be mad at faces. You can't look at a pale face and be mad. Don't be mad at them. Put them in their proper status, because only you, their creator, can do so. Put them in their proper status so you don't have to be mad at them. You're mad for no reason, and the mad is your own fault because you didn't do it. Got to do it. Has to be done. Has to be. We have to put them in their proper status, or else we'll have good reason to be mad because they're going to take our sovereignty and attempt to use it against us. And they don't take it because it can't go anywhere. They just make it look like they did. So when you talk about, the brother mentioned Delaware earlier. Delaware is this and Delaware is that. Moors in Delaware territory, get on your job. And remove that corporate covering off of them and put them in subject status and gain acceptance of the delarium so they can do what you say. And how do we gain acceptance? Just give it to them. Make sure it's delivered to them. That's it. With some affidavit or some command. Bar. In law, if you're talking about the law, you're talking about us. Number 16. In law, a bar is the nullifying of a claim or action. The process of bringing
work
this
in
about.
Florida.
Okay? The process of bringing that about. Okay? So, Moors, when we talk about things working or not working, because in a way, you know, the hybrid that I just muted, she said it didn't work in Florida. And in a way, she's right. There's somebody there, someone there, not all, because see, there are some Moors in Florida that are doing some powerful work. But there's still some that have not done liens and court actions in red and all lowercase letters and put it out there. Is that the answer to everything. It's part of it, but there's more. We're going to do more today. So we've looked at the word bar, and it talks about the law. So we know that that's something we need to rebut and take back, right? Who is the American Bar Association originally? Who's the original first ones that the hybrids copied? Does anyone know? Because we know the hybrids have not had one original thought in their lives. Nothing new under the sun. Who was the first American Bar Association? Who was the first anything? Who was the original?
The Moors.
Absolutely, yes.
The primogenitors.
Yes. Yes. So we're going to take all of that back. But you can't just do it like they did it, because if you do it like they did it, they're going to violate you. That's the disclaimer. I'm putting it out there on the record. If you do it in black ink and capital letters, they're going to violate you. Don't do that. Don't do it. So now let's take a look at a document that we need to see that we have crafted for the Moors, so that, again, Moors, these documents that we craft, you can take them and edit them according to your study. Okay? Take them and edit them according to your study. All right. You will know why we're doing what we're doing. Yes, it's on government letterhead, in red and all lowercase letters. It is Universal Sovereign Original Indigenous, Moorishe American Affidavit for the Sovereign Justice, Law-ya. That's really what a lawyer was actually supposed to be in the beginning, a law-ya, a law god, a god for the law. Law-ya is how we pronounce it, lawyer, not lawyer. Lawyer is incorrect. It's law-ya. Law-ya. Who's the law-ya? The Moors are the law gods. That's where that word came from. Don't let nobody fool you. They went to the Gullah Geechee people and start writing things down and saying, oh, they said law-ya. Oh, they said legal, but that's the Lord. That's the legal, but she's the legal, the little girl, but that's the law. The law. The mature matriarch. So if the mature matriarch is the law, and so are the sons, if that's the law, that's the law-ya. Law-ya. The God, the law God. Consul, esquire, and king. Because the hybrids recognize kings. Because we taught them to recognize kings. We are the kings. So when they say, oh, you all think that you're the kings and queens of the earth, yes, we are. We just don't spell it that way. Queens is not even spelled that way or pronounced that way. Now, the sons can put the K there if they choose. And the emphasis, and these are suggestions, do your own study. We've done the study. We're putting our study out there. But you do your own so that you can demonstrate whatever it is that you want to demonstrate. And this is, we talked about the word king. Let's talk about the word esquire. The word esquire, and we did do our study on that word, and please do your study on the word esquire so that you know. The noun, esquire is a noun. It is a shield bearer. A shield. the red shield. Do your study on that word. So the ones that were doing business as the Rothschilds were actually hypothecating us, the real red shield. Who are we shielding? Our heirs. We're shielding our heirs.
Yes. Also,
we're shielding future generations. We don't need to shield. We don't have to shield other, mature Moors. They can shield themselves. They're sovereign. We can assist one another. And that's what this document is all about, is assisting other Moors. But they must speak and say, I'm a Moor. I'm not a United States Corporation Company citizen. Yes, Empress, that's good. That's what it is. So we're also shielding our vast estate from further violation and havoc and chaos and all of that. And the havoc and the war and the chaos does not come at gunpoint first. It comes in fake courts and on fake paper first. That goes unrebutted. And you don't rebut a fake court by simply saying your court is fake. You rebut a fake court by being the real court. Bar. So now I have here, and you'll see why it's purple. I put the beginning of the document in red, but I put this in purple. My American Bar Association number, and that's American Bar Association in purple and all lowercase letters on a red document in all lowercase letters. That number is my sovereign security number. And then I also included my MAC number, my Moorish American Consulate number. Why did I do that? Because we're going in at diversity. So there is consular, diversity of status is actually the case here because, again, we're talking about subjects and sovereigns. So when we put them in subject status, now we're talking subject and sovereign. That means they have to do as commanded, but there is still diversity there. Okay? So that's why the Moorish American Consulate number is there, and that's the difference between the Moorish American Consulate number and the Moorish government number. Our sovereign government number, my sovereign security affidavit is in red in all lowercase letters. It's all red. Okay, and it just states that number, that 9-digit number, that was falsely and fraudulently hypothecated as a social security number with dashes or minus signs in it that created a debtor in black ink and capital letters was fraud. Okay, that's what my sovereign security affidavit says, is that other thing is fraud, and we pointed to that fraud by court action, and it says, okay, this is my government number. I can use it however I want to use it because I'm the government. So my American Bar Association number is that number, 420-194701. And then my Moorish American Consulate number is there. And then it starts with our court action language. And now let me show you where the purple comes in at. Okay? This is, let's see. Okay, I put it on there yesterday. Let me put it back on here again today. Does anyone know where this comes from? O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise the sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves. Does anyone know where that comes from? It comes from the Circle 7. The Holy Koran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science as divinely prepared by the noble prophet diall. It is chapter 29. The title of chapter 29, of course, for a document like this, is Magistrate and Subject. Our prophet gave us everything we needed. Everything. He gave us everything. Everything we needed. All we have to do is look at what he did, what he said, and then manifest it. It says, I just love it so much. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, and that's the hybrids in subject status, by the way. And when they say thy equals, it has a different meaning from the equal that we've been trained or programmed to think. Okay? Have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over them. They know we rule over them more. They actually agreed to assist in raising us to our sovereign power, but only in subject status did they agree to do that, not as courtiers. So when they talk about thy equals, they were the heads when we were asleep, and now we're the heads. So that's where the equal comes in at. Okay? They were the heads and we were the tails when we were asleep and thought we were citizens. And now, just like it says in the bibliotext, in the last days, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. You will be the head and not the tail, the lender and not the borrower. Those are ancient records that said that, by the way. The bibliotext that we see today, or the Bible that we see today, is a hypothecation of the ancient record. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves. Consider the ends and importance of their trust far more than the dignity and height of thy station. That means that the subjects are going to trust that we will do the right things and be fair in our dealings and our courts and all that has to do with them, because the power of life and death is in our tongue. So we have to be fair, and that's where cleaning of the energy is going to come in at. Thou art clothed in purple and seated on a throne. Kings, Moors. The crown of majesty invested thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand. But not for thyself were these ensigns given, not meant for thine alone, but the good of thy kingdom. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, Moors. Your kingdom is come. Your will must be done. The hybrids know that. They know that. They've come to assist us in being raised to our sovereign power. That's why we created them. Number 3, the glory of a king is the welfare of his people. His power and dominion rest on the hearts of his subjects. So for those who have a problem with calling the hybrids subjects, just know that that is their badge of honor, that we do so. It is their badge of honor. It's written in the law. They take pride in that. To be able to serve the king. And king is both masculine and feminine. We talked about that earlier. It says, number 4, the mind of a great prince is exalted with the grandeur of his situation. He evolveth high things and searches for business worthy of his power. Those are commercial terms and also terms of the grand rising. That is a description of the grand rising. We're evolving high things. That's why it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. He calleth together the wise men of his kingdom. He consulteth among them with freedom, and heareth the opinions of them all. The one known as the Supreme Court, the only thing they ever issue is opinions. Go back and read what they say. They issue opinions. Okay? You can't tell sovereigns what to do. And we can clothe our royal subjects in purple. We can do that. Or we can wear purple when speaking to them. But ultimately, red is the sovereign ensign of our sovereign authority at its highest, most supreme and sovereign manifestation. Number 6, he looketh among his people with discernment. He discovereth the abilities of men and employeth them according to their merits. How can we employ anybody if we don't have our own money? Yes, a servant is worthy of his hire, but we're not the servants, not like that. We hire ourselves, and then we employ everybody else. Yes, Empress in the chat, because we are the Supreme Court, the courts was issuing opinions. We issue the law. Number 7, his magistrates are just. That means all of us. His ministers are wise, and the favorite of his bosom deceiveth him not. He smileth on the arts, and they flourish. He being the both masculine and feminine energy of the king, and the king is all Moors. The sciences improve beneath the culture of his hands. Moors, the culture is what we have changed and are going to continue to put emphasis on. We must change the culture on all 7 mountains. 7 mountains. That's government, law, religion, erudition, which is they called education, commerce, arts and entertainment, and media. Those are the 7 mountains. We must change the culture on all of that, and we've already started. Just putting one video on YouTube or doing a Facebook Live is changing the culture in media when we're talking about Moorish, all things Moorish. That one act by one Moor, not to mention all the Moors that are doing it. We're automatically changing the culture on our land to reflect us. We have to do that everywhere. Number 9, with the learned and ingenious he delighteth himself. That means he has to be learned and ingenious in order to find pleasure in that. Study, 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 Moors. He kindleth in their breast emulation. Emulation means that they want to do and be what he is. He, the king. She, the king. That's where the hybrids get it from. This is ancient records that say that we made them want to emulate us. We made them want to do that. And the glory of his kingdom is exalted by their labors. The subjects love to work for us. But we got to come right with a lien, a court action, and some delarium and some commands and in our sovereign status, and not asking and begging and requesting and doing motions and pleadings and pleas. And not trying to please them. It's the other way around according to the Circle 7, our holy Koran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. The spirit of the merchant who extendeth his commerce. The skill of the farmer who enricheth his land. The farmers enrich our land. The ingenuity of the artist. The improvements of the scholar. All these he honoreth with his favor, or rewardeth with his bounty. What is favor and bounty? Money, real favor, real approval, real authority. He planteth new colonies. He buildeth strong ships. He openeth rivers for convenience. Convenience. He formeth harbors for safety. His people abound in riches, and the strength of his kingdom increaseth. That's number 11. Verse 11 says, his people abound in riches. How can they do that if we don't have our own money? But we got that covered. And only when we abound in riches and the people abound in riches will the strength of our empire increase. That's where we are now. That's where we're going. That's what all of this is about. This is nothing but a prophecy. It's a roadmap to where we're going. Number 12, he frameth his statutes with equity and wisdom. That means he seeks the law, writes the law with equity and wisdom. His subjects enjoy the fruits of their labor in security. That means the subjects are going to be taken care of too. Yes, we're snatching sandwiches from corpses because those sandwiches need to go to people who need to eat, the living. Corpses don't need a sandwich, they're dead. Lean them and send them to Guantanamo Bay, and then speak to the subject that's left standing there whose corporate covering has been ripped off of them so that they can speak and do what needs to be done. His subjects enjoy the fruits of their labor in security. The security is we provide the protection for everyone. And their happiness consists of the observance of the law. He foundeth his judgments on the principle of mercy. Yes, in our courts, we're not going to be throwing people around and doing all types of stuff. But when it comes to corpses, corpses get the decapitation. They get the axe, period. Because corpses and corporations do not come from anyone's womb. Subjects and sovereigns come from wombs. And which womb you come from determines whether you're a subject or a sovereign. Either way, you're going to flourish and increase. His subjects enjoy the fruits of their labor in security, and their happiness consists of the observance of the law. Number 13, he foundeth his judgments on the principles of mercy, but in the punishment of offenders, he is strict and impartial. Offenders, corpses and corporations are offenders. That's why Guantanamo Bay. That's why decapitation. That's why the decapitation order that's out there, the command that's out there, is still on YouTube. If we were talking about decapitating humans, they would take it down. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that fake paper and anyone putting fake paper out in black ink and capital letters that's trying to tell the Moors that they're citizens and all of this stuff. That's craziness. That deserves strict and impartial judgment. Now, number 14, because see, we can be strict and impartial. We have to be. We don't have no choice with that. We are also merciful in our court dealings, in all that we do. Number 14, his ears are open to the complaints of his subjects. The Constitution is a document where, in a particular perspective, the House of Representatives is the subject coming to the Senate, which is the Moors, saying, this is what we need on the land, because we're on this land because you all said we could come here, and we were assisting in raising you to your sovereign status, that's been stated in number 1, into your sovereign authority and power at number 1. It says that. And so can you make sure that we have this or that and this and that and this and that? And then we'll make sure that they have what they need. But we first have to make sure that we have what we need first. We have to do that for ourselves first. Okay, so the subjects, yes, they need a representative. Okay, because all the subjects are not supposed to just be willy-nilly coming up to all the heirs and being like, I need this, I need that. No, the heirs, as we continue to govern, we govern as the Congress. We are the Congress, we are the law, we are the government. So they can send a representative who knows about the Republic and the law and the Constitution, and that representative can say, okay, they got together and they saw that you all originally made these laws, so they adopted these laws and wrote them, but they need some funding for them. Then they're supposed to come to us for the funding. And here's the thing, when we do it for ourselves first, the avenue and the way is already made. It's already made. All we got to do is keep doing what we're doing. That's why delarium is so important. Number 14 says, he restraineth the hands of their oppressors, and he delivers them from their tyranny. Restraining the hands of their oppressors. Arm, leg, arm, head. Allah. The long arm of the law. Allah, the Moors. And only we can restrain hands. What do hands do? Hands write things in black ink and capital letters. What do our pens do? Put it in red and all lowercase letters. The pen being mightier than the sword. 15. His people, therefore, look up to him as a father. A father. It's the son, like we showed in the photo at the beginning of this. The son assisted in creating all the other nations at our command. We said, hey, son, go out and mix and mingle and do some things out there. Create the nations. But we had to birth the sons first in order for the nations to be birthed. And then it says, with reverence and love. When you go to places like Thailand and all these other places and they have these Buddhas up, the Buddhas look like the sun. Their gods and their temples look like the sun. Under the patriarchy, they look like the sun. From ancient times, they look like the sun. Because that is who came to them. We honor the sons. The sons did what mother told them to do. So we are one. We're one. And that's why we can have open ears and be looked at with reverence and love. Now, when they talk about reverence and love, and again, when we talk about his and him as father, we're automatically talking about she and her as mother, because mother birthed father. And when they look at father with reverence and love, that means there's no war going back and forth. There's no warring. We don't have to war with the subjects. We were warring with corpses because we thought we were corpses. We don't have to do that anymore. And then they will do exactly as commanded. When I say they'll do exactly as commanded when we put them in subject status, that's what this is saying. I'm not making that up. That's in the Quran. That's not a guess. I'm not guessing. It's in the holy book. It's in the holy book. They look with reverence and love when we are lawful. They consider him as the guardian of all they enjoy, yes. Their affection, number 16, unto him, their affection unto him, us, begetteth in his breast a love of the public. This is what we're about to experience. Reverence and love and love and more love and security and love and justice and mercy and all of that. And that comes through the law. It doesn't come any other way. It doesn't come any other way. It comes through the law. The 5 points of light manifest through the law. Justice manifests through the law. Love manifests through the law. That's what this is talking about. That's why this is called magistrate and subject. The magi, the magic one. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow thee all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Lord is the Moors. The house is this land. He restraineth the hands of their oppressors, and he delivereth them from tyranny. His people therefore look up to him as a father with reverence and love. They consider him as the guardian of all they enjoy. Their affection unto him begetteth in his breast a love of the public. The security of their happiness is the object of his care. No murmurs against him arise in their hearts. The machinations of his enemies endanger not the state. Only when we're lawful will no murmurs arise against us in their hearts, because it's the heart that counts, you know. Corpses don't have hearts, not living ones. Corpses are not alive. Their heart is dead and cold. But when we lean, see, if more, when you're looking at these that are on our land, the ones that we created, the subjects that we created, whom we love. If you really love them, you will rescue them from that corporation by leaning them and leaning that false identity off of them so they can be themselves, if you love them and you care about them. Because I've heard some more say they don't want to start trouble by leaning. No. You're starting trouble by trying to do something and speak to a corpse. That's trouble. That's war. That's confusion. It's conflict. Lean them so that they can speak, and everything will be well with them as they do what needs to be done to keep this land moving smoothly. Okay? We're almost done here. Number 17, the machinations of his enemies endanger not the state. That's why we don't even worry. We don't even worry about, enemies and things like that, because as far as we're concerned, we have no enemies. Either there is subjects or Moors, and neither one of those are enemies to us. Our brothers and sisters are certainly not our enemies. The subjects are not our enemies either. They're subjects. We have no enemies because we've leaned all the enemies away. The confusion was the corpses that looked like subjects but weren't acting like subjects. 18, his subjects are faithful and firm in his cause. That's why you give them delarium, so they can be faithful and firm in what they do. They stand in his defense as a wall of brass. The army of a tyrant flieth before them as chaff before the wind. Chaff just blows around in the wind, just willy-nilly. Wherever the wind blows, it blows to. Wherever the wind says go, that's where they go. And that's a whole army that's floating around, flying around, and with no authority and no power, because we have aligned ourselves with the law and because we've taken our rightful place as kings. His security and peace bless the dwelling of his people, and glory and strength encircle his throne forever. That's on, now I'm reading from the Quran, but that's on this document right here. This American Bar Association document in red and all lowercase letters and mixed with some purple, because this circle 7 talks about purple. Number 2, thou art clothed in purple and seated on a throne. So when they see the purple, now we also put something in here from the Bibliopeliotext. Isaiah 33:22, and we have pointed this out previously, but let's make it very clear that when we gave them executive, judicial, and legislative government, that format, it's based on that verse right there. And they will tell you that the Bibliopeliotext is a trust document where we said, okay, put your trust in God. And then we gave it to them. So Isaiah 33:22 says, for the Lord gods are our judge, the Lord gods are our lawgiver, the Lord gods are our king. It is they who will save us. And we took it from the Moorish, American, Al-Moroccan ancient records of our minds, and we put it in its proper status, Isaiah 33:22. Where they talk about the judge, that's judicial, the lawgiver is legislative, and the king is executive branch of government. So these are the 3 branches of government that we gave them when we handed them the Constitution. Isaiah 33:22 came with it. And they said, yes, Lord, we will honor the Isaiah 33:22 and the things that are in the Bible in their proper context, because they have been mistranslated and subrogated and hypothecated and capitalized and all of that. Okay? And then here we have a couple of statements where these statements you've heard before about us being the sovereign executors, ministers, trustees, claimants, and beneficiaries of our own vast estate, and how the Moorish sovereign delarium is established. All law is established and executed in gold-backed Moorish sovereign delarium, all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. And then it says, it talks about jurisdiction. It also states what we stated a couple of years ago in a past video. All systems at our ancient dominions are subject to the living sovereign ancient Moorish government, to include all banking and funds conveyance systems, stock exchange markets, commodities markets, all industrial systems, and blockchain systems, all of which are part and parcel of our ancient gold-backed universal postal union system. Okay? We mentioned that a couple of years back in a video that we did, I believe in 2019. And all we're doing now is just manifesting what we stated back then, because this is a map. We've been given the roadmap. We're not guessing. It's the law. And all we had to do was know our history to know where we're going. That's why we study so much as Moors, so that we can see, where did we come from? We've been here 1,000 times, really. in the spirit realm, and all we had to do was reach up into the spirit realm and into our ancestral energies from within us, reach up within us, and pull our history out, remember, and then execute it, and establish it, and ordain it. And then it talks about the language, the Zodiac Moorish American Constitution, and how the American Constitution, because the Zodiac Constitution, that one needs to be put in red in all lowercase letters. We need to change that literature and put it in red in all lowercase letters, because right now it's not in its proper status. It's capitalized. That's why the capitalists don't have to listen to anything in black ink and capital letters. They don't have to listen to it. They knew that. Because then you're under their system and you're under their jurisdiction, and they don't have to listen to anything the citizens that are in black ink and capital letters say. That's why they don't listen to them. That's why they can kill them and do whatever until they get in their rightful status. And then it talks about the Moorish American Universal Commerce Portals, which is us. We're the portals to everything, all wealth, all gold, all trade, all commerce, all land, all prosperity. We are the actual living, breathing portals to all of that. If our portals are not open to that, then it's not going to happen. All corporate debt is outlawed, and the American Provost Marshal has been notified. Yes, absolutely. And I will have to say, I have to give the American Provost Marshal all the credit for removing those corpses when we gave the word, those corpses got on out of the way. And for all Moors who are giving the word in their own Yes. In the chat, I saw earlier, I want to get to that really quickly. Are there any questions, by the way, about this document? We are going to place this document under an editable version of the document under this video when we put it out on YouTube. We're going to, at Light to Jury Day channel, we're going to put an editable version out there for you to edit and use. Or if for some reason you can't download the editable version, all you have to do is go back and go back through the video, and you can write down what you see here and put it on your own, put it on letterhead, okay, and do what you need to do. And this is a court action. It's done by court action, so we put our court language there. Are there any questions about our sovereign American Bar Association document? And more with regard to the numbers at the top, you can use the numbers that you choose to use, however you choose to use them. You can put them wherever, however you want to do that. That's up to you. So, if there, let's see, there's a question. So when we route scripture, when we quote scripture in our affidavit, should it be done in purple ink? You can do it in purple ink if you choose, or you can do it in red. Because when it's spoken by the Savior, that's what the red ink, red letter edition Bibles are all about, is when we speak in red, okay? When we're talking, when we're quoting, when we're talking about going into inferior court and speaking to inferior court, and when we say going in, that means either face-to-face or in writing, which we're going to do. Even when we're face-to-face, we're in writing, we do it in writing first. We can put things in purple so that they will know that their king is speaking. Okay? It is their king that is speaking. And that's king with the K for the sons and king with the Q for the empresses, because that's where the word king with the K came from the king, the Moors, the empresses ruling. So let me just make sure I got to all the questions in the chat. Okay. So when they see this document is going to assure them that when they're in subject status, they will be treated fairly and that they have security. And when you put this document with the Constitution, okay, and again, if you want to add Article 4 about us ordaining and establishing, Article 4, Section 1, I believe is what they said earlier. I'll have to go back and look where we quoted that we ordain and establish inferior courts. You could add that to this document. I'm going to add it to this one as well. But this was just the beginning of this document where I wanted to get the main points out there, so that when the hybrids, when the subjects read the document, they will know that there's no war going on here, and that they get in their subject status, and that we're going to be the nobles that we are. Okay, that things that we do are going to be done in a noble, sovereign manner. Okay, and that we're not there to war with anybody, but we are there to bring the law and justice, because we are the law and justice. And that anywhere that this document goes, we are in charge of that place. Wherever this document goes, we're in charge. And it is specifically for those inferior courts, because we are going to have to go into those inferior courts and put the law forth. And here's the thing about those inferior courts. Most Moors already know what to say and do, because so many of us have been ran through those courts so often. But we know that even a Moor who just nationalized today can go into an inferior court in their proper status and state for the record jurisdiction, personam jurisdiction. If you stay on personam jurisdiction, that's really what you need to know and what they need to know. Personam jurisdiction states that they don't have the authority over any of the Moors, the living beings, because they're subjects. And when we put them in subject status, then we go ahead and issue our ruling. We are going to be going, they're going to be, when we're going through this exercise right here, we're going to be learning some things from them and those inferior courts. They're going to be showing how things go in those inferior courts. And we have to know going in that ultimately it's about personam jurisdiction. But we may get into some territorial and some subject matter, okay? But we have to know that too. I will say this, a good subject matter expert, and I don't want to put him on the spot, but he knows subject matter very, very well, is Justice Kamal, who spoke earlier on this call. He's a great subject matter expert. He knows subject matter. He's been working with those in the POW camp in this territory, at Washington Territory, and he knows subject matter like the back of his hand, if you ask me. He can quote it. So he's a good resource for that. Also, there are other Moors who are great subject matter experts, and we're all great subject matter experts when we study subject matter. Subject matter goes beyond personal jurisdiction. So in our case, it will be that we know they don't have jurisdiction over the Moors. We know they don't. And now that they're in subject status, we can talk about subject matter, but from the perspective of our court. It's our court. It's not their court. It's our court. And that's the only reason we would even discuss subject matter is in our own court. Okay? And so this is what is going to allow us to get Moors out quicker, because we have properly rebutted the American Bar Association, the corporate, with the sovereign bar association. And the only reason we say American Bar Association for us in all lowercase letters is because it's on government letterhead. We're the government still, so let's not get that twisted. We're not calling ourselves a society or anything like that. Even if we did, we're still the government and the law. We're not a society in black ink and capital letters. We're not an association or a corporation or any of that in black ink and capital letters. We're not people in black ink and capital letters. We're not even gods in black ink and capital letters. We're gods in all lowercase letters, in red, because it has a different meaning altogether. Are there any questions about this document or about anything that we put forth thus far, or any comments or wisdom or anything that you see that can be added to the document? Islam. Okay. So at this point, we will go ahead and take a pause and get ready for our meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. Islamist.
I got a separate question.
Mm-hmm.
What paper are we using when we print money?
Say again, what's the question?
What kind of paper are we using when we print money?
We are using, this is what I use. I use Southworth resume paper. It is cotton, 100% cotton. And I also use Southworth linen paper. It says ideal for proposals, presentations, and reports. Okay. Can you see that on the screen? Hopefully you can see that.
No, but I remember what you just said. The Southworth.
Okay.
Southworth linen.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. How are you?
Islam. And it's about, you can get for about 8 sovereign credits or so, you can get that at Walmart.
Oh, nice.
Islam, Empress.
Okay.
Thank you.
Islam.
Islam, this is Justice Malika Kilbay. I was just wondering if anybody else has tried it using parchment paper. I use parchment paper and it seemed to come out pretty well.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a great suggestion. The beauty of this is that the Moors have the authority to use whatever natural papers and fibers, papyrus, whatever it is you want to use. And it's your money. You get to print it. I like the thought of parchment paper. I like that. I'm going to try that also.
Islam, one last
are there any? Yes.
Are you putting any borders around white borders around the money like they do with the fiat?
No.
Okay. All right. I get it.
No. Some of them come out with an automatic white border. Like the one that Prophet Noble Drew Ali is on, sometimes it comes out with and actually not sometimes, but it came out with an automatic white border. Some of them do, but most of them don't. And so, for the ones that don't, I don't put it there. Okay. Islam nobility.
This is Travis Bay. I've been doing some negotiation with a real estate company that holds property in Atlanta, and they say they hold it non-judicially. And what form do I have to get them to set? I go back to learn since their money is not constitutional at all.
Okay, so when they say they're holding something non-judicially, that's a lie. You can't hold something non-judicially. All law is commerce, and all commerce is law. So you have to let them know that this is an Article 3 action, and that they're custodians who are commanded to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Have you, now, there are some things that go along with that, okay? Some of the things that go along with that is, have you created a allodial title to the property?
Not as yet, because I wanted to clear up some of the different avenues before I put everything out there.
The rightful owner must show title. The one holding the title is actually the rightful owner. And that's where allodial sovereign title in red and all lowercase letters comes in at. Okay? Them saying they hold something non-judicially, that is a hint, actually, that they're saying they're holding it not under judicial authority, but under commercial authority. Because it's got to be one or the other from their perspective. And if they're holding it under commercial authority, all you need to do is give them some delarium and some. You need to lien them, put them in subject status, do your lien as a court action, and then give them some delarium for whatever amount it is that they're saying is that is outstanding. Give them delarium as a court action, and then get one other more to do a court action that says we recognize you not as a court but as the sovereign, because you'll use a witness. So get any more that's in your territory or any more that you regularly deal with. Get them to do the same court actions, but just their court actions should say that we recognize Justice Malik as the sovereign heir. He is not any name in black ink and capital letters. He is a sovereign, ancient Moorish American Al-Moroccan. Okay? But you have to put them in subject status first in order for them to hear any of that. Corpses cannot hear.
Okay.
It's only when the Creator speaks to them and says, all rise and stand, and tells them why they're rising and standing, then if you read the story in the bibliotext of the Valley of Dry Bones, you will understand why we say rise and stand. Okay, to get them to do what needs to be done with regard to your property, because the property belongs to you. Okay.
Okay.
So
thank you,
Islam. A few things. You need to have all your corporate contracts terminated. They need to be lien. You need to do a lien on the black ink and capital letters of your sovereign-born appellation. And your sovereign-born appellation needs to be put in red and all lowercase letters. And then you need to give them some delarium based on the title that you create, the sovereign title that you create, sovereign allodial title. Okay. And the Moors in the chat are offering some suggestions as well. They say lien anyone in the corporates who have attachment to the property. Absolutely, yes. And you would look on the tax assessor website to find out who else is laying claim to that property or attempting to pretend to lay claim to property by being in corporate status. All of them need to be liened and notified and all of that. Put in subject status so that they can honor the delarium.
Okay.
Islam. So anything that's going on with anyone on the land, I'm telling you, that formula that we have structured from start to finish is not a new formula. That's an ancient formula. Okay. Even the one doing business as sheriff he is absolutely need to be leaned and given some delarium to do his job. And it is a good idea, Justice Malik, to go through this, to notify the Secretary of State's office after you lean them to, letting them know that the property is not abandoned, okay, and sending some delarium to them too. With some instructions, some commands, not instructions, but commands. Because the Secretary of State's office, we're the original Secretary of State. All you're doing is commanding that arm of the law. You make them an arm of the law to do their job where abandoned property is concerned. And then you notify the sheriff that you lean the sheriff and then notify the subject that the Secretary of State's office has been notified. And then guess what's going to happen? And this is something that I wondered when our teachers were telling us about this initially. I wondered why he said this, but now I know. Whenever we notify them and then we tell them that we notified another one, like when we tell the sheriff that we notified the Secretary of State's office, guess what he's going to do? Pick up the phone and call him and say, hey, did you get any documents from this Moore over here? And they'll say the right words because the documents are in the right status, and the corporate has been leaned off of them, and they got delarium to do the right thing. And when they start calling the Secretary of State's office, the Secretary of State is going to tell them what they need to hear with regard to abandoned property. So notify them that everybody else has been notified. On your documents, put notification will go to, has gone to, or CC'd, copied XYZ, this office and this office and this office, and put those offices in purple in all lowercase letters. Put it in purple, okay, if you want to do that, but the rest of the document in red. Islam, if you just want to go ahead and bring it all together. Are there any other questions or comments or wisdom, etc.? Islam. This document will be under the video Peace and Grand Rising to the Sovereign, Original, Indigenous, Natural, Divine Here. Islam.
Peace and Grand Rising.
Peace and Grand Rising.
Peace and Grand Rising, Harris.
Islam.
Peace and Grand Rising.
Long live the empire.
Peace and Grand Rising.
Gratitude, Empress, love, and generosity.
Islam. Islam.